our technical difficulties here. We're still trying to get used to all this stuff, but I wanted to welcome everybody. And in this podcast, this edition, it's our second edition of our audioskills.com podcast. We're going to be talking about some more music production advice for noobs, and specifically, we're going to be talking about producing your first song. So to start us off, I am with Andy and Jimmy, uh, two of my good friends here. So Andy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Did you hear about the guy whose whole left side was cut off?
I
He's
did
all,
not hear about that whole guy.
he's all right now. He's all right. Jimmy, how are you, man? Are you here with us?
Hey guys, Jimbo here. Yeah, I'm here with you. Yeah, we're just finding out how difficult it is to stream simultaneously across three different platforms. We're on Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook today, in case Scott didn't already say that. So it's always a challenge getting new tech stuff up and running. We're still figuring it out, learning the ropes, but we're happy to be here. And Scott, I'll turn it back over to you. What do we got today?
Right on. Right on. Yeah, I'm happy that we're all here today. So, as I was saying before, we were talking about last week music production for noobs or beginners or people who just, they have music that they want to get out there and they just don't know where to start. And Andy was asking some fantastic questions. And we covered some great topics last week. We were talking about gear and things like that and things you'd want. But this week, Andy, do you have some other questions and have you taken some next steps towards producing your own music?
Yeah. So here's the question. So for a guy like me, who I play an instrument, I play the Scottish small pipes. I like bagpipes. I play an instrument. I'm interested in doing music production. But my knowledge base about music production is close to zero. Maybe not quite zero, but very close to it. How do I just get up and running and like produce my first song in my DAW, which I'm using GarageBand, just in the sake of simplicity? What's the fastest way I can produce my first song, knowing that it's not going to be very good, but just kind of wanting to get that milestone behind me so that I can improve my skill set and then then move on to my second song, which ostensibly is going to be better.
Sure. No, that's a great question. So the first thing I would say you would need to know is, do you have a complete song, and how are you going to go about producing that? So what I mean by that is that this day and age, some people actually use their digital audio workstations like a GarageBand as almost an instrument itself. So they'll go in and maybe they have a vague idea of where they want to go with some kind of song or some kind of idea, and they'll go and start working on that. The other way, and I think that's faster, is if you have written your song outside of that. Like Andy, you mentioned you play, bagpipes. If you had a song like, okay, I know I've played this before. I love this. This is something that I want to get in and record and start producing it. Is that the case for you, that you would know this song?
Yeah, basically all I have is like a hook, not like a long song, but enough that I feel like I could make like an EDM type song using my hook and adding in some drums and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. So then I think it's all about, okay, one, open up your DAW, GarageBand in this case. Two, last week we were talking about making sure that you have a microphone and that you have, if you were going to do MIDI, maybe you'd have a keyboard or something. But at a minimum, you need your microphone and your DAW. So let's assume that you have your microphone now. So you would want to plug that in and hook that up. Make sure that GarageBand is recognizing it. You can go into your audio settings in GarageBand or any DAW really, and then it'll maybe come up if you have a Blue Yeti microphone, for example. You should say you click on your settings and it would say, okay, Blue Yeti, and then you recognize that, okay, plug it in, and then it's just a matter of creating a new track, a new audio track, right? And you'd have for your Blue Yeti would be your source, and then the beauty is you just then get into making music. So what do you probably know, if you're a musician, what tempos are? So do you know the tempo of your song, Andy?
I don't. I mean, is it the case that you just would like use the default? Like, what's the default? Like 120 beats per minute?
Yeah, you could use that. I'd say if you already had an idea of your hook and you had already been playing it at a specific tempo or whatever it was in your head, it would be a good idea to figure out what that was. You can go to this website. You can actually just Google it. Just go like tap tempo, and there's a site where it just allows you to click your space bar, and it'll actually give you what the tempo is, and you can very easily set that. But for simplicity's sake, if you were just like, hey, I'm just going to play it at 120, that's fine too. So you'd have your tempo in there. You might click the metronome button. Again, we're talking GarageBand in this case. You might click that, and then you just start playing your song. You click the record button, and okay, I'm going to play my hook at 120 BPM beats per minute, and get it going. Once you play through your hook maybe a couple times, what you might do then is say, okay, I've got this hook that's repeating. Well, what you can then do is loop it. And there you would just kind of drag it over and you'd maybe loop that over and over. And so, okay, what would you have there? You'd have your melody, your hook that you've created with your bagpipes, and you've got it in time at that tempo. And then this is where the exciting stuff starts happening, Andy. You can start really playing with other types of tracks. You have that audio track because that was recorded with your Blue Yeti, your USB microphone. Well, maybe you can add a drum track. And in Logic, in GarageBand, and in many other DAWs, they make this very, very simple. You would just click add drums, or add MIDI, and pick a type of drum kit. So many of these digital audio workstations come with pre-built drum kits. They also have things like drum loops and stuff like that. The point is you just create a new track. This might be a software track, and have your drums, and then you start playing around there, and maybe you have your hook and you tap out on your keyboard or on your or even in the DAW itself. You would just tap it out and add your drums, and then from there, it might be a matter of, okay, well, maybe I want some kind of string element or some kind of bass element. The point is you can use all of these virtual instruments that these pieces of software make available to you to just add. And really, when it comes to music production, Andy, I think a simple way to think about it is you're just painting with sound. That's a real simple way to think about it. I think a lot of people, it seems like such a foreign thing, but when you get in there, it's like, okay, I'm just adding a new type of sound to this canvas, and my canvas is in the piece of software, and I'm just kind of layering things and working through that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So, what if I want to add some cool drums, but I don't really know how to compose that. I just want to you know, maybe check out some different options for basically pre-written drum tracks. What's an easy or low cost and or free way to have a library of different drum tracks that you can sort of
Sure. Well,
add on to your existing hook, because I feel like that's the base. For me, I come up with a hook on my instrument, if I'm doing some kind of electronic music, and then
yeah.
for me the next step is got to be drums, and then from there it's kind of open ended.
Well, one awesome thing about GarageBand and actually its sister DAW, I'd say the bigger sister DAW, Logic, is that they have a function called Drummer, and it is really easy to use. And essentially, what it does is it draws from a library of all different kinds of drum loops and things like that, and you can basically select a different drummer persona. You can select hip hop drums or rock drums or any other R&B drums, electronic music, any of these guys, and you just would click on it. And what's great is you can just kind of play with it, and it will just give you a drum loop on its own track. So that's the easiest way, especially if you're using GarageBand. Other ways is there's again all sorts of drum loops that are available out there. If you were using Ableton, they have a massive library of drum loops that you would just drag right into your track, and you would make sure that it's working with the tempo, and you would just go. So really, I think the easiest and fastest would be using drum loops or a program like Drummer.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think I really got all I need to get started. And if anyone out there is listening and thinking they want to get started, I mean, definitely my advice is to start as small as you can and just finish a project, right? Because we've all kind of fired up a music project like this and gotten stuck at some point or another, and just leaving the project unfinished. Like in a way, it's like this false sense of confidence because you're like, oh man, if I would have finished that, it would have sounded awesome, But I think you got to have the fortitude to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna do A, B, C, D. I'm gonna finish it today, and it may not sound the best, but it'll be done. And then tomorrow I can fire up a new project. That's really how you improve your skill set, rather than just like leaving a project open forever and never really getting over that first hump. So I'm gonna hand it back over to Scott for a couple closing words, and then we wanted Jimmy to also chime in. He's got a sneak preview of what's going on here next week, as well as some cool sound effects for us.
Yeah, so just kind of my closing thoughts. I really just want to piggyback on what you were saying, Andy. It's a really good point. I think a lot of people, they want to start making music production and they have so many ideas and they almost get in the way of themselves because they're like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to write Bohemian Rhapsody. And it's like, hey, you got to walk before you run. And it's okay to just start with, a simple loop, a simple hook, and some simple drums, maybe a little vocal. And as long as you finish it, you're right. Finish getting to the finish line, and then you can build upon that in your next project. And it's a lifelong battle. I know artists out there, myself included, I will still get into that rut where I have just like a great idea for this hook and I'll start working on it. And then I'll just kind of say, okay, well, that's good for now. I'll come back to it later. And I never finish it. And I have a number of these files where it's like, hey, this could have been something great, but I didn't just finish it. And so the point is don't get too much in your head. Just finish it, just go to work, and that's how the music will flow. So Jimmy, I guess I'll hand it over to you and kind of preview what's going on next week.
Yeah, guys, just a plug here for everybody listening. We are launching audioskills.com on Monday of next week. It'll be the first day you can actually go and sign up, and we'll have a very special offer for anybody who signs up during our launch week window, which will run next Monday through the end of next Friday. So we're going to email everybody on our mailing list with the details of that here in the coming days. If you're interested in learning more about Audio Skills, you can check us out at audioskills.com. And if you want to get on our mailing list, so you're informed of our private launch to all of our mailing list subscribers, you can head over to audioskills.tv, and there's the little sign up form at the bottom of that page there. So check us out, audioskills.tv and audioskills.com.
Awesome. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And, whatever your goals are, whatever type of music you're making, whatever your setup is, just go out there and make some great music, because that's what it's all about. I stopped the broadcast.
We got a Facebook comment.